Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, just came out in theaters over the last week, and I reviewed the film as well as the trailer when it came out. So make sure you want to watch those two videos. But in my review, I did say that I felt like there was so much missing from the story of Bonhoeffer, and of course, I sympathize with the filmmakers. They can only say so much in so much time. But today, I'm gonna share with you some of the things that they left out of the film, so it kind of enhances your ability to really enjoy it. Or maybe it makes you feel the way I felt in the theater. I don't know. So you can choose when you watch this video, but please make sure you watch it. I just feel like Bonhoeffer's impact is beyond just what you got from that film. I feel like his life is something to study and to learn from. So let's jump right in. One thing that you did not know about Bonhoeffer was that he was born into a very well-to-do family, okay? His father was a very, very, very famous scientist, a very, very intelligent and accomplished scientist. And his mother was a teacher, so this was definitely not the story of some kid that grew up in the projects of Germany deciding to stick it to the man all of a sudden. This was somebody that already came from a place of wealth and of privilege that did not see it right to take those advantages and just escape and flee the country. Instead, in God, he decided to do something completely different because of his love for his nation, for his fellow man, and for God. The second thing you probably did not know about Bonhoeffer was how intelligent, how incredibly intelligent this man was. At 14, he decides that he wants to be a theologian, kind of following his mother's side of the family's footsteps, where his grandfather was a theologian. And from there, 6-7 years later, he becomes a doctor of theology. That's right, 21. What were you doing at 21? You know, this guy was incredibly intelligent. He was writing books. He was sharing about the things that he was learning and the things that he knew. So when you see the scene, for example, where he is in New York and kind of making fun or not taking the professor very seriously, there's a reason for that. Okay, this guy is incredibly intelligent, very, very, very smart. So if he's kind of bored in class, genius problems, you know? Now, the third thing that you probably did not know was that Bonhoeffer gave an address 2 days after Hitler comes to power. And I very much believe that this scene must have been filmed, but just did not make it into the final cut. And during this radio address, he tells the German people how they should never idolize their leaders, which is what Hitler, of course, wants to happen. And just to digress a little bit, you realize that when the Nazis were trying to take over the church, it wasn't from a place of, we don't want you to worship anymore. We just want you to worship Hitler instead. And of course, that is immediately against everything that, in fact, that's not even a church. Well, it's a church, but not a church of the Lord Jesus Christ. It is a church of Hitler, okay? So Dietrich, seeing how things were starting to play out, already puts up this address to all of Germany, warning them that, look, this guy is just flesh and blood. And what's even more concerning is that he seems to not bow to anybody. He doesn't have anyone he's accountable to. Meanwhile, in the church, we are all accountable to God. And just imagine doing that and basically putting a target on your back for your country's leader. And I think that it was even cut out halfway through, but then he had a written version of it and they were disseminated as well. Amazing stuff. Fourth thing you did not know about Bonhoeffer was that he was very well traveled. Okay, he had been to Rome, he had been to Spain, he had been to the US, he had been to Bulgaria, he had been to the UK, to London. In fact, a lot of his travels were to help him in his pastoral journey. Fifth thing you probably did not know about Bonhoeffer was that he was actually engaged. Yes, he was engaged to a woman that he actually taught when she was 11 years old. The age difference is really wild. She was not 11 when they were engaged. Okay, I think she was like 17, 18 when they got engaged, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, they just didn't get married because Bonhoeffer was kind of afraid or kind of concerned about where he stood right now. He was a spy right now with the government, so he didn't want to complicate her life with that until everything kind of died down. Of course, they died, or he died in their engagement, and she went on to do other things. Yet at the same time, she still held on to helping Bonhoeffer release some of the things that he was writing from prison. So, nothing you didn't know. The sixth thing that the film did not expressly mention was that Bonhoeffer's entire family was part of the resistance, not just him. Now in the film, they kind of allude to that with having his brother-in-law part of the resistance, but you need to know that Dietrich, one of his brothers, two of his brothers-in-law were executed by the Nazis during the Third Reich because of their involvement in the resistance. Even his dad was part of the resistance. Now, his dad's an interesting figure because his dad was not very religious. He wasn't into the whole God thing, but he respected it. But that wasn't why, from my research, that was not why he joined the resistance. It was more of a thing of between good and evil. Germany cannot go down this road. This man does not know peace. He only knows war, and he wants to turn the whole world, or set the whole world on fire. So I think that was more of his reasoning for wanting to join the resistance. But pretty much his entire family was part of the resistance against Hitler. And a lot of family members were lost because of that. And in fact, one of his sisters actually married a Jewish man, which made things a little bit more complicated on that side as well. So those are some things about Bonhoeffer that you probably did not know before watching the film, and maybe did not pick up on after watching the film either, but things that I feel like make the story so much richer. Again, it's a film, we can only do so much with that medium, but knowing these things, knowing more of the context behind all of the events of the film, I think is really great for our learning and for our growing. Don't let your learning stop here. Please make sure you go and watch other videos, go read other publications about Bonhoeffer. But as you research more, you'll be able to bring more light to the things that he was doing, why he was doing them, and just be, I guess, more blessed by his story.